Hello, everybody. My name is Cheryl Hutto, and I am a coach for caregivers predominantly, but during the pandemic, I am reaching out to so many other people who are struggling with anxiety and loneliness and learning to be caregivers for themselves, because that's really, I believe, what we all need right now. I wanted to tell a little bit about my story so that you'll understand how I got here. Many years ago, my wife was diagnosed with dementia, and at the time we thought that it was Alzheimer's, and thankfully it's not, and she's still doing okay today. But the emotions that I felt at that time were so intense. I thought that I was not really going to come out of it. I thought that my life would never, ever be the same. I was filled with the anxiety. My diet became a wreck. I was frightened all the time. I was irritable, not so unlike what so many of us are feeling today. But I was able to get the help that I needed and understand some techniques that would have changed my life and given me a sense of ease and purpose in my life. And I would like to share some of those tips with you today, and ways that might help you as we go through this time of the pandemic, and how important it is for us to understand that we need to be our own caregivers right now. And that's what's going to help us and give us that sense of ease as we go through these days. So as I mentioned, we all need to overcome our struggle right now with the loneliness and isolation. And it is possible, even though the situation can seep into us when we aren't really even looking. And it appears in our bodies, and we don't really understand what's going on, except that we might end up feeling irritable or anxious even when we think we're okay. I have had more than a couple of days over these past few months since the coronavirus began, where I thought I was fine, and I would wake up one morning feeling very weepy, and my day was just pretty sad, but I didn't understand what it was. So it's important for me and for all of us to give ourselves room for the ebb and the flow, because we are absolutely human beings, and these situations come up in our bodies, and it's so important not to push away these feelings. So what is happening when this happens? Or what's happening when we feel loneliness or sadness or isolation? Well, these emotions really are coming up when we feel fear. That's what's underneath these emotions. And the nervous system is a big part of how this is manifesting in our bodies, which then, of course, we notice in our minds, our spirits, our emotions. So I'd like to describe a moment, and you probably already know about this concept called fight, flight, and freeze. Thousands of years ago, when we were cave creatures, we would run. For instance, if a tiger was chasing us, we would generally run. Or if an animal was confronting us, we would either fight, we would run, or we would shut down and absolutely freeze. And you can see this today in nature. I'm sure you've seen it everywhere. If a possum is being attacked, the possum doesn't run. It plays dead. It freezes. It hides. And I've done all three of these, as I'm sure that you probably have in your life as well. So what happens is when we are attacked, or we do have a situation that triggers this fight, flight, freeze in our nervous systems, we have a thought about that. And that thought becomes a belief that we then hold. Here's a story about a nervous system situation that was completely out of control for me. This was last summer. I have 3 dogs, a standard poodle and 2 little litter mates named Gracie and Milo. The poodle's name is Echo, by the way. One day, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning, I was walking behind a museum in the woods where I have walked them often on a trail, and there were ledges up above in the woods, and one of the little dogs is quite the hunter, Gracie, and she ran off up into the ledges, and I heard this horrible yelp, which was not a safe yelp. It was not a friendly yelp. And I began to call, Gracie, Gracie, and nothing. Suddenly, down out of the ledges, she comes running with a coyote directly on her butt. And they took off, running back up to the trail and into an open field. And beyond that is where I had parked the car. I picked up a limb. I mean, I didn't even know my own strength. I picked up this limb and I started just running down the trail, calling after Gracie, and basically calling after the coyote, "You leave her alone, you son of a bitch." And I finally got to the edge of the field and I dropped to my knees thinking I would never, ever see her again. And there she was sitting in the field. She had been bitten, but she was safe and all was well. But my nervous system was an absolute wreck. And I had created then in that moment a belief that it was no longer safe to take the dogs on a walk in the woods. And this is something that I have loved doing for years and years and years. And in a split second, I made that decision and I created that belief. And I wanted to undo that belief. So I made a big effort and made myself take the dogs on a walk, not in that spot, but in a different woods 3 days later. And don't you know, Gracie goes after a groundhog and starts to kill the groundhog. And I just go I am just crazed. I couldn't even think, to the point, here I am, an old woman, and guess what? I wet my pants. But I got the dogs into the car and I got home and I was just a wreck again, to the point, you know, I thought that I would never ever walk in the woods again. And to this day, I choose only places that are well-traveled. Other people are out there, very little wildlife. And it's because it really, really frightened me, and I created that thought and I held on to it. So not only did my nervous system go completely haywire, I ran, I fought, I screamed, and finally in the end, I basically collapsed and shut down for a very long time until I could recover and it was safe again. So loneliness and isolation, anxiety, irritability, they all feel dangerous to us. We are afraid of what might be next. And maybe we don't literally run, but we act these fears out through our interactions with others. And sometimes that's just not pretty, and we don't feel good about it. And others don't understand what's going on with us, and we don't understand either until we stop, take a deep breath and say, what is it? What am I believing? Can I possibly know that I'm okay? So that's the nervous system, and there's so much more about that. But basically, what can we do? That's a simplistic explanation, and what we can do maybe isn't always so simple, but we can practice some of these things that I'm about to suggest to you. This idea of conscious breathing is wonderful for our nervous systems and our bodies, because when we can calm the nervous system and activate this rest and digest part of the nervous system, which is called the parasympathetic, we then feel safe. We then can digest our food better. We then can interact with others and ourselves in a kinder way. So I have a favorite practice that is quite simple. There are many, many breathing practices, but one that's very simple that I often use with clients is called the 5-5-7 breath. So we breathe in, preferably through our nose, not critical, preferable, but not critical. Hold at the top, and this is to the count of 5, this breath in. Hold if you can, and then exhale more slowly to the count of 7. Inhale to the count of 5 and hold. Exhale slowly to the count of 7. And it really, really helps lower our blood pressure. It's just as a win-win for our bodies and our nervous system and our mood. Absolutely. The other thing, another thing is to read less of bad news in the newspaper, watch less news on television. I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's absolutely true. If you remember a moment ago, my saying that I sometimes during this pandemic have woken up weeping, and the entire day was sort of lost, and I didn't understand what had happened to me. But really, we take in this information into our bodies and into our cells, and we store it, and it builds and builds and builds until finally we're crying. Why wouldn't we cry? This is really a big deal that we're going through. So please be careful with your news intake. Engage with others in a very happy way is so important. It always is, but it's so important right now. Perhaps you would like to create a book club and have a discussion group with others. Perhaps you would agree to all watch the same movie, if not together, then separately, and come together to talk about that. It can create lots of wonderful interactions with other humans, which is part of what we need to do right now. We can laugh. Laughing is great medicine. The old cliche, laughter is the best medicine, is no joke. It's not a lie, absolutely. If you can take a walk and connect with nature, just enjoy the wind and the sun on your face, sit under a favorite tree, look at the squirrels, the chipmunks, whatever you can do to engage with nature, the birds. Everything is so beautiful right now in our summer here in the Berkshires that it can go a long way toward giving us a lift. I want to also talk about something that I didn't know about until recently. I read an article about a Japanese term called ikigaya. And perhaps you know about this, but I had no idea. Ikigaya can't be translated verbatim here in our Western culture, but the loose translation is reason for living. And I just love this. I thought, oh, how can I talk about this to people right now during the pandemic? Because so many of us are feeling like we have no purpose, but we do. And in this article that I read, this group of elderly Japanese women get together at a senior center several times per week, and they're so happy because they are pressing flowers together, and then they are either giving them or selling them to their community, but they're creating beauty. And we don't have to sell a thing. That's not part of it. That's not part of our reason for living. But to create beauty and to interact with others and have a purpose that can be spread outward is so critical for us right now, and it always has been. But I just love this idea. So ikigaya is the name of that, and if you don't know it already. And above all, please be kind to yourself. We all need that. It's a daily practice. I know all of these things are a daily practice, but being kind and compassionate toward ourselves is the basis for true peace and grace and freedom and ease. And when we can feel that, others around us notice that, because when we're caring for ourselves and we're walking around in a state of grace and ease, it's contagious. We're actually in that way caring for others. And as I said earlier, we are all being called right now to be caregivers for ourselves and the rest of the world. And we can do this. I know that we can. I follow a favorite mindfulness and meditation teacher on the internet. She's very well known, and you can look her up. Her name is Tara Brach. Perhaps you know of her. She does a lot of beautiful guided meditations and teachings about compassion toward ourselves and loving kindness. And I want to share with you one simple technique that she has shared, and that is this three-part invitation when we're not feeling at our best, or we're feeling anxious, or maybe we just sort of had an unhappy conversation with someone, or for whatever reason. We don't even have to have a reason to do this. This three-part invitation goes like this. First of all, you can ask yourself, please don't believe this thought. And remember a moment ago when I described how we create thoughts, or we have thoughts that then become beliefs. And the beliefs are just beliefs. They're just that. They're not true. And the thoughts are real, but they might not be true. So the first thing when you're feeling unhappy or anxious is, please don't believe this thought. And the second is, please just pause. May I just pause? Take that breath. And finally, number three is, if possible, put your hand on your heart. This alone goes a long way toward calming us. And the statement or the question to ask ourselves is, please, may I be kind to myself in this moment. May I know love for myself in this moment. So again, please don't believe this thought. Please just pause. Please, may I know a loving kindness to myself right now. And I can tell you that as you begin to practice just a few of these things that I've described, the world will be such a different place. You will begin to stay in this day. And in this day is what we have right now. This day only, not the past and not the future. Some of these practices can help us understand that this moment is what's important. And you will be able to find the joy and ease for yourself. You'll be able to spread it to others who need you. We all have a purpose. And if you think you don't have a purpose, believe me, you are dead wrong. We need to be caregivers toward ourselves. And when we do, it naturally follows that we'll be caring for others who really need us all so very much right now. And if you would like to, in this moment, I would love to lead you in a guided meditation. And it really is about loving kindness to ourselves. And I'll finish this presentation with it. And I hope you'll join me as I use my singing bowls and guide you right now toward a sense of calm and peacefulness for yourself and everyone that you come in contact with today. So if you would like to just get settled in your seat right now, just feel your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath in and a breath out. And if it feels okay for you to close your eyes, please do that. If that's not okay, then just let your eyelids close a little bit and find a place on the floor in front of you. And just listen to my words as I take you through this right now. As you take this breath in, on that tone, And you exhale in this tone. I breathe in. And I breathe out. Let your shoulders drop and slide down the back. With each breath in, you become more and more relaxed and aware of what is going on in your body. And you might have your own words to say silently to yourself, but I'm going to say these words for you if you like them. You can bring yourself to mind right now, and you can say to yourself as you breathe in, may I be kind to myself. May I know ease and safety in my body. May I know that all is well. And you might pick a person now as you breathe in and out. Someone that you really love dearly, a mentor, a teacher that you've had, a pet. Bring them to mind right now and offer them these same phrases. May you be safe. May you be at ease. May you know happiness. And may you know that all is well today. As you breathe in and you breathe out. Now bring to mind someone who is mildly annoying to you. Not the most difficult person in your life, just someone who irritates you. And you can't know what their happiness looks like, but you can offer them these same words. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be safe. May you know that all is well in this moment. And as you let this person go, bring to mind someone who is neutral, someone that you don't know very well, but perhaps brings your mail or pumps your gas. And you can offer that person these same phrases. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you feel safe. May you know that all is well in this moment. And finally, circle back to yourself one last time. May I know safety and ease. May I be happy. May I know that I am safe and all is well in this day. And may I extend this loving kindness to all others everywhere. And as you slowly open your eyes, if they were closed, just gently wiggle your fingers and your toes. And just notice as you look around the room, if you see something that is slightly different, perhaps something in the room that you haven't noticed before, just notice. And I will leave you now, and I certainly wish you well. Thank you.